blew my mind. I've actually never heard of such a high rate, but you said you have, of all of your clients, 16% of them are repeat customers. I'd love for you to
Yes.
share a little more about how you got there, what that looks like. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have the honor of being joined by Fernando over at Pro Movers of Cape Coral, and I'm super excited for today's podcast. So, Fernando, thank you so much for joining today.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course, we have a lot of different things we're going to hop into. One of the things you mentioned, which you guys are really, really great at, is hiring and retaining A players. And then, of course, also your repeat customers. But before we get into any of that exciting stuff, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your story, where this all started, how you got into the moving industry, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. Okay. So, just kind of like brief background. My stepdad he was a mover as you know as I grew up throughout my childhood. So I would actually go to work with him on the weekends as a younger child. So like when I was like 7, 8 years old, I would still go with him on moves. And actually, we'd be on Camp Pendleton. We'd be on military bases doing military packs and everything, and getting those shipments ready to go out. And I got I got the knowledge from him working with him throughout the years, and I worked with him till I was probably about 19 years old. And then I ended up getting into the car business, and then I was in the car business for about 14 years. I did everything from sales all the way up to general manager of a dealership over in a Nissan store in Irvine, California. I ran. So did that. Got tired of it. Got tired of just talking about money. Tired of just trying to make as much profit as possible. And I knew this industry. I always kind of knew it, and when we came out to Florida, I actually took a job coming out to Florida doing road sales. So doing sales all around Florida. We'd go and host big events. We'll be there for a week and then move on to the next town. That was good, but we had a pretty big gap between sales. So we had about a week to 2 weeks, which was
Mhm.
great in the beginning. I loved it. I loved all the time off and making the money. But then I got tired of sitting at home. I couldn't do it anymore. In November of 2018, I applied for the license and started Pro Movers of Cape Coral. And we just seen the population. We seen that it was a lot of elderly people, whether or not they wanted to move it themselves, they physically couldn't, you know. So with knowing the population and everything, we went ahead and opened up. And what was it? Right at the end of 2018, COVID hit, COVID started, all of our sales stopped. So I went from doing, 10, 15 jobs a month, just side money to keep me busy while I was off of the sales, to then this is all we had for income, and our sales completely dried up, stopped. There's no permits being pushed out or nothing. I took my last $1,000 and put it into Google ads and went from 10, 15 jobs to 40, 50, 60. And we hover around 60, 50 to 60 jobs ever since then for the last 6 years. So, that's kind of how we fell into it, really, you know.
That's amazing. So it's not often I speak with someone who has been moving since they're about 7 years old. Do you remember
Been a
those
while.
moves like? Were you actually helping your stepdad out, or were you more just along for the ride?
Just along for the ride, just to go work. I like to, he had the big trucks and he had the diesel truck and everything. And so I thought it was cool, and being on military base at that young of an age was pretty unique as well. He still worked me like a regular employee. I really learned the job while I was there. It wasn't just running around or nothing. So it was good.
That's a great way of learning, most definitely, and really awesome that you get to learn from such a young age. And when you're young, you look up to your dad. I'm sure it was exciting to see him doing all of this stuff, helping people move. Now, then, I understand you went to California, really awesome. You came back down here for a sales job, and it sounds like the sales process was a little bit slow. So it's fair to say you're not someone who likes to have lots of free time. You like to be working all the time?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, yes. People have hobbies and, people ask about what's your favorite sports team? I don't have one. I don't know anything about that stuff. We're always working. That's it. Growing the
You're
business. That's all it's about.
married to the game. And that's a
Uh-huh.
double-edged, right? Because it takes up all of your time, but I think that probably speaks to your success when you spend so much time being in the business, living in the business. And like you said, you spent $1,000 on Google ads and you went from 10 moves a month to like 60 moves a month. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. How was your first experience with Google ads? It sounds like you just hit it out the gate running straight away.
So Yes and no. I started myself off with Angie's List, actually. Started off with Angie's List. That was the platform that was getting us to 5 to 10 jobs when we first started. Just getting our feet in the market, who's our clientele, what's going on out there, and all that. And they really plateau at 10 jobs max, maybe if you're lucky. Now, I mean, I think we had revisited them again a few years after that, and it was nothing. It was not even worth it. When we started out with them, we went into Google Ads. I did pay per click ads at first, and it was good. It got the traction up. We were able to see a return on it. But then I started noticing with our clicks that we were getting, in a pay per click ad. So there's a category where it shows that you're getting these clicks, but it's from YouTube. And
Mhm.
so when you look at that, I'm like, I have never one done a video, two seen a video, of us on YouTube at all, but yet I'm getting 5,000 clicks from them for some reason. And I'm like, okay, is it just people clicking off to skip the ad, like I do? So I had got a call out of the blue one day. We get a lot of them, but we got a call out of the blue, and the person was trying to sell me on uh, Google Guarantee. And
Gotcha.
me being a salesperson that I am, I'm like, well, tell me about it. Tell me all about it. I want to know. And I kept him on the phone for a couple hours, and I asked as many questions as I could. And by the time I got off the phone with him, I knew how to go get my own account and to, start my own account basically. So that's where I took the $1,000. I never signed up with them, unfortunately, but appreciate the guy's knowledge. And we signed up on Google Guarantee. And then we really started to then increase. And we started out at $1,000, and every week I was trying to increase it more and more, and eventually I learned how to work the system, what it was doing for us. And for the last 5 years, I say that because last year we finally cut away from Google Ads now, but we were spending about four. Sometimes I would raise it. There's a way you can manipulate it. If you want more leads at the end of the month, you could do a couple things. I could tell you here in a bit, but
I look forward.
yeah. But we're spending about $4 or $5,000, and that will give you about, in our market here, that gets us about 70 leads. You're going to get probably about 20 uh, actual leads that are going to submit through the website, and then you're going to get the rest on phone calls. And I do see a fluctuation of our phone calls going up without it counting on the Google side.
Okay.
So it's getting them in front of the right people. Yeah, that's how we really started with them. And it's been a good thing. They've definitely been a big help. That's for sure.
That's amazing. And I love to hear all of that. And I remember the first time we spoke, I could just tell you're a numbers guy. And the fact that you still know your numbers from back then is awesome. So you're spending around $4,000 a month for a good long amount of time. And from my understanding, you had pay per click, didn't love pay per click. We see the same thing. When you're doing pay per click and it's not going to the right places, that money often goes wasted. You have to make sure it always goes to the right places. But then you moved over to Google Guarantee. And you said, by the sounds of it, $4,000 a month, you're getting around 70 leads. So you're paying around $60 a lead, which I'm sure is printing you money. You track all of your numbers. Do you know what your conversion rate is, more or less, on how many leads you bring in and then turn into actual clients?
Yeah. So nowadays you probably wouldn't believe my conversion rate. My conversion rate right now for this week is for this week we're at 108% for my conversion rate. But
That
that's
is, tell me more. I want to hear how you get over 100%.
the only reason why it's that high is because all of our clients now are one, our vendors coming to us. It's our repeat customers, and it's referral customers, and those all typically close. We do get new customers still finding us, just naturally on Google and everything, but we do have certain things in place that we do in order to just increase my closing ratio. Coming from the car business, it's all about closing ratios and it's all about numbers. And so when I transformed into this and went on this side for this, I brought the car business with me. I had to. I couldn't leave it.
That's all the experience from learning how to sell cars, which I'm sure is just like a high ticket sales environment, very just all about the numbers, like you said, money, money, money. If you're the top sales guy, things are going to go good. Now, I want to talk about the sales process because it sounds like you have that dialed in. But before we move away from the Google guarantee, you said you had a way of getting more leads towards the end of the month by something which sounds a little bit unconventional. I'd love to hear about
Yes.
that.
Yeah. So a little sneaky. Don't tell Google. But what you can do. Okay. So Google's a big machine. It's greedy. If you put a dollar amount in front of it, it's going to do its job to try to get there. Right. So what I've learned is at the end of the month, if we're falling behind, right, or I see like we have a light week ahead of us, I will increase my what I'm going to spend. Now you have to be careful with this. You do have to watch it closely. I mean, they will take your money in a day, right? But if you do it right and you're prepared to spend some money, because you will increase your thing a little bit. But what I'll do is I'll say, okay, I'm at $3,000 budget. It's the middle of the month. I've I've only hit probably about $2,000 worth of ad that I've spent so far. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell Google I want to spend $6,000 this month. I will then see it in just leads coming in. Then then I'll back it back down. So I do spend the money on the leads, but I Google thinking, hey, we got to try to get to our 6 grand. So then you do that, you raise it, and you just bring it back down. And then you get some more leads out of it, pretty much. So I can kind of control how much or how little I'm getting. And nowadays, if I do turn it on, we'll turn it on, we'll get the leads, and then we'll turn it back off. We're kind of at that point with them now where we're truly manipulating the program that they got.
And I love to hear that. I couldn't have put it better myself. Google is a huge engine. And at the end of the day, they want to spend as much of your money as possible. So any little we can do to put the power on our side as the movers is for us. So I love that. I think when you're budgeting how much you want to spend every month, you can just tell Google, I want to do $4,000 a month. But as I'm sure you've seen with your experience, some months it spends 2,000, some months it spends four. So by the sounds of it, if you want an influx at the end of the month, you haven't spent all of your ad spend, increase it, but just keep a keen eye on it. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then bring it back down once you get your what you want out of it, pretty much bring it back down so it's normal because it will take it all. I've yet to have a month where Google missed its benchmark. I think the last I checked and this was probably 6 months ago, maybe. I think I was approaching $200,000 in ad spend with Google.
Wow. Now, I'm sure your return on investment on that has been at least 5x. So that's a
Uh,
lot more money brought in for you, which I'm really, really happy to hear.
yeah.
Now, well, actually, before we move away from that, one thing you mentioned, which I just want to point out to everyone listening in, is you also mentioned that your organic traffic grew when you had those ads running. And that's something we see with a lot of the people we work with is when you have the Google guarantee, you get that little verified tick. I think
Mhm.
that alone goes a very long way because clients just see that and it's instant validation. And on top of that, it just sounds like you got more organic traffic when you're running Google guarantees by the sounds of it, right?
Yes, but you do have to do quite a bit of work from the beginning. Coming from the car business, I knew exactly what needed to happen to start to build the reputation. I understood why it was important. There was a lot of companies that would approach us and try to do our social media and do our SEO and everything. There was a couple key things that I did allow people to do um, just because I didn't have the knowledge of or the time to try to figure out how to get everything to link up properly. But then once that was done, I think in the very, very beginning, I did spend with Surefire some SEO work, but
Gotcha.
then I ended up canceling them. I'm like, guys, at the end of the day, we're in a now business, you know, and it's really, really tough. I've tried to be patient and wait 6 months and see how it works out and do all that. And I just get frustrated at the end and just boot them. And really, there are certain ways that you could directly reflect your numbers at whatever you want them to be based off of just running ads. And that's really what we were looking to do. The growth comes over time. Now we still need money. That's now we need
Yeah,
leads.
it's tough when the marketing agency tells you, yeah, 6 months down the line, 12 months down the line, just invest in it now. But with ads, the nice thing is you can turn it on and off, just like you said. Like if
Mhm.
you guys have a week coming up, you can turn it on, you can turn it off afterwards, and it will fill in that week. So I'm super happy to hear about all of that. And it sounds like you guys have your crew busy all the time. Now, one other thing I wanted to talk about was your sales approach. I've never been in the car sales business myself, but of course, we live here in Miami. You're over in Fort Myers. I see these businesses everywhere. Now, you brought what you learned there to your sales side. I imagine you did the sales yourself to begin with. You might have a sales team now. What does that look like with Pro Movers of Cape Coral?
So, we've had quite a few office staff over the years. We've been in business 6 years, and I do find that it's very difficult to find somebody that cares about your business as much as you do, and truly will take the time to really put all their effort into it. At the end of the day, these are all jobs for people, and so you got to make sure you find the right people. I do find that at the end of the day, the ball still has to be in my hands in order for the right and proper decisions to be made. So when I implement my sales process, it's definitely geared towards the customer feeling like they're in control of the entire process and making sure that everything is very clear and easy for them to accomplish because coming from the car business again, it's a the sales process, right? So there's a start and there's an end. It's when you meet and greet with the customer, you do your fact finding, but then at the end is the sale, right? And what people don't realize is that the further along down the path that you get somebody, the more likely you're going to close a deal. So the whole goal is just to continue for them to go through the process and make commitments to us. They're not making commitments like, oh, I promise I'm going to use your company. They're making mental commitments when I'm dealing with them because I'm putting them through things where they're like, okay, we do with smart moving. Are you familiar with smart moving? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm familiar. Great CRM.
Yeah. So we are fully integrated with them. So we do the live switch. We pay for the extra API key or whatever it is, so that way live switch connects to the actual system. So I have a starting point for our customers. They come in. Their meet and greet is with Heidi, who is our receptionist here. Her goal is just to gather all the information: name, phone number, email, the date when they want to move. She verifies that we have availability right up front. Again, that's part of the process of making them commit, right? So she verifies that. Then she sends them the link. She gives them two options. One, they could either do the walkthrough on their own, giving us all the details. Once we receive that, then they get on the phone with the owner, right? And they love that, you know. Um, once they do their live link, I already have it already booked out in my system. I already know the inventory. I know the cubic square footage. And now I'm just simply making the connection, finding out what's important to them, and closing the deal pretty much. You know, so that's really how our process goes.
That's awesome. And it seems like it's slightly tiered. And that's the nice thing, which a lot of owner operators struggle with, is they might still be taking all of the sales calls. But by the
Hmm.
sounds of it, you've got one staff, they get all of the initial details. They go ahead and give them an option to do a walkthrough estimate or do one themselves. And then at that point, when the lead is qualified, it then moves on to you, which I'm sure saves you so many hours a day because you're not picking up the phone for people who are looking for a job or people who are looking to move a washer dryer down the street, all those sorts of jobs you
Right.
don't want. That's really amazing. And I love the other part you mentioned, which is the small micro commitments, which then lead to a closed deal at the end of the day. I think a lot of salespeople struggle with that. And it's just like you said, you're not getting them to say, yes, I'm definitely moving forward with Pro Movers of Cape Coral. You're getting them small commitments. Okay, does this date and time work? We have this date and time. Perfect. That's a small yes in their head. Then it's okay, I want to go ahead and put together an estimate or a walkthrough. And you have them investing more time into you, which then long
Hmm.
term, that's what your 108% conversion rate, because mentally they've already assumed they're moving forward with you. When you go ahead and say, okay, we need a deposit for the move, they say, okay, perfect.
Hmm.
Where do I where do I give you the money?
Yes. Yes. And there's one other kind of important thing that we do when we're doing our walkthrough. So I know my staff. I know the guys. I know what they're capable of. I know how fast they work. I know I know who's my strong guy, who's my weak guy. I know where to put them. Right. So I know them very well and their abilities. And so when we're looking at jobs, the system will automatically this is so many hours for the furniture, right, to come out. Now, I know it may say it's 6 hours. I know it's not going to take 6 hours, right? So I give the customer an option. I say, look, at the end of the day, we do what's best for you guys. So we give you two choices. You get to pick what you feel is best for yourself. We could keep it on an hourly basis, or we could turn this into a flat rate. Okay, so a lot of people, if they've had bad experiences in the past, they had surprise costs, everything. We could put you in a binding contract. You won't have that again. You're going to be taken care of. Well, reality is, if it's saying 6 hours and it's at say $1,500 for the move, and I know this is only going to take the guys 3 hours or 4 hours, then that is the path that I want to take to try to have the customer sign up with that path. Because
Yeah.
now I could send 3 or 4 guys to that job, knock it out even quicker, and get them to another job and try to maximize the day, basically. So that's kind of how we go about it. At the end of the close, we're looking to go which route's going to be. We present it as it's their choice. Again, making them feel like they're in control. I think that's very important. Everybody wants to be in control, right? So we make them feel like it's a good thing, and we let them pick, but we guide them in the right path, if that makes sense.
I haven't heard that before, and it's a really unique way of doing an upsell because you have all of your data, you know your staff, you know your team. If the software is saying it's going to take 6 hours, you think it's only going to take your team 4 hours. It's almost a win-win because the client gets to choose. Now, of course, you're going to push them to whichever one is preferable for you. But if they are someone who, like you said, has been had bad experiences with movers in the past, they hear flat rate and that's amazing because then you get rid of all the downside, right? You get rid of all of the downside, whereas you still technically have an upsell because you know that move's going to take 4 hours. You charge them more than they would have if they paid for the hourly, but in that case, everyone wins, right? They don't have any downside. You get your team out, you can get them on the back of another move. So that's a really unique way of doing an upsell. I really like that. I
Yeah,
might have to recommend it for a couple of guys I work with.
it works. It works. It helps you control your numbers for sure. It can make you run some pretty good averages. That's for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing how that works out for us. Now, you mentioned a little bit about your team. And when I spoke with you on the phone, this is something which I really wanted to address.
Mhm.
You turned the book upside down a little bit. If I understand correctly, most of your guys are with you full time. You pay them a monthly rate, overpaying them an hourly rate. I'd love to hear a little bit more.
Yeah, you got it pretty much correct, but it's so we do a daily salary. So basically we keep the guys at 135 a day. All right. So whether you work an hour or you work 20 hours, it's 135. Now, for us dealing with a lot of vendors and a lot of repeat business with just a certain company, it really does help us to be able to maximize what we need to do, where we need to go, and where we need to send guys. I'm able now to really, before I would say, okay, you guys are having trouble on a job and it's taking longer. We need to get another guy out to you, but they only paid this much, and I'm already going to go over in labor. Sorry, guys, you're going to have to deal with it. Well, I'll take care of you next time. Now that same scenario happens, I get one crew that ends. Well, now you two guys, you go over there because most likely it's going to be a flat rate anyways,
Awesome.
and now the guys go help them out, keeping everybody working together and working as one big team versus an individual crew leader. And you see the crew teams, right? You see the one driver with his helper. We don't have that here. We have one big crew, you know, and everybody helps each other, and that's it. And if some guy comes in and they don't want to help and they don't want to go to another job and help the guys, well, guess what? You don't work here anymore. 'Cause there's a lot of
Yeah.
people waiting to take that spot.
That's really fascinating, and it builds well, for sure it builds community, but it's the thing, and we see this time and time again when you're hiring people in the moving industry, people just wanna get the job and go home. But the nice thing is if everyone's working together, let's say you have 3 crews out, they're each a two-man crew, one finishes early, they can help the next guys, and you know how much of a morale boost that is. If you're
Hmm.
halfway through a move or you're doing the unload and you have 2 extra guys come up, that doesn't just help you have the 2 extra guys, you feel better about it because you know you're gonna finish up faster, and the whole
Hmm.
process just prove itself. Okay, so day rate, $135 per guy. That's awesome. And I don't think I've taken too much of a deep dive into this yet. How many trucks do you guys have and sort of how many crews do you run? I know you don't do it in a cruise way, but what does that look
Yeah.
like?
So we have 6 employees total that we are full time with us, and then we have another. I think I'm like at 7 or 8 guys on the back end for like a roster, right? So if I just need extra help, it's a weekend, we're extra busy with jobs. I could call those guys. They've worked with us in the past. They may either have other jobs already. They may have worked with us and moved on. I never like to really shut a door. I used to in the beginning when it came with labor, but I've realized over the years everybody goes through their thing. Let them go through their thing, and you know what? If it makes sense and we can work them again, we will. If not, then we won't. But we have the 6 guys. Well, as far as trucks go, we have one truck that we run full time. and then I lease all the rest of my trucks. So
Awesome.
yeah, for our area here, we just moved actually here to Matlacha, which is a small island right off of Cape Coral.
Hmm.
And Cape Coral, we couldn't keep any trucks in where we were. We actually went, I've done everything kind of backwards when it comes to a moving company. We were actually in a strip mall type of area for our business. It was like a storefront versus like a warehouse or anything like that. And we just wanted the visibility. We wanted people to know that they could come to us and they know where we're at and the whole 9 yards. So that's why we went that route. But as a result, we couldn't have a bunch of trucks. So we would lease them. And I find that that's a lot better. We just had one rider truck for the last, we had it like 4 months. And I
Wow.
mean, the tailgate wasn't working. There's a hole in the roof. What was it? There's a couple other things mechanically with it. And I mean, I just drop it off and, all right, guys, I'm going to need another truck. And they get me another truck. And yeah, Ryder's good, right? Penske, you got to watch out because the box isn't covered. The biggest thing with these companies is the box being covered. It's not like you bumping into somebody and all that stuff. If you have insurance, you most likely get that to cover it. But with a rider, you could take their insurance. So you do anything to that truck, they don't ask a question. You just hand them the keys and get another truck. So I guess unless you're like really messing it up, but we've had really good luck with them. We had one guy one year accidentally take hit the top corner with a Penske
Hmm.
truck. And it was
Hmm.
$6,000 repair.
Wow.
Yeah, out of nowhere. It
So,
wasn't fun.
okay, so it sounds like Rider is your number one go-to when you're doing these leasing options or doing these rental options,
Yeah,
dependent on.
they got a pretty good lease program. They really do.
And we've used Rider a lot in the past too. We've always had good experiences with them. Like you said, if there's anything that goes wrong, they take care of it. I think they're the most professional. They only work with commercial clients, whereas U-Haul and Penske can just work with anyone. Now, I
Right.
think that brings extra added level of professionalism
Hmm.
when they know they're dealing with an actual corporation rather than just an individual. They know who they're dealing with. They've dealt with you before in the past. So I'm really happy to hear that you guys have had the same experience with us at Ryder. Now, I've got two interesting things I want to address, which you mentioned. Now, the first one was the storefront. A lot of people these days, as the moving company scene is growing, a lot of people are coming into the industry. A lot of them are moving away from the storefront. They just have a digital presence. I'd love to hear about how your experience was, A, having a storefront. Did that bring in any clients? And would you do it again if you started over?
Yeah. So yes, we would do it again. We did it now. We are here on the island here, and it's very good for your customer retention, just with your customer base. If you're really like in the long term, right? You're in it for the long haul type of deal. That customer retention is really key. And then second, when it comes to us closing and using it as a closing tool, it's a very strong closing tool. It's like, you tell somebody, they're like, I worry about who's coming in and everything like that. And when we tell them, here's our address, you could come in, meet with the
Mm,
owner. You could bring your deposit in directly to us. We could print you out a copy of the your contract with us and everything. All that stuff is very powerful and it helps us to close deals. Now, did a bunch of people walk in and say, "Hey, I want to move"? No, so that wasn't. And I thought in the beginning maybe we could do some sort of resale of furniture. We could still have that type of commitment to the customer. Hey, we're here. We're in a brick and mortar store. We're not going anywhere. But that I was too busy for it. I couldn't even sell nothing. I'd take it to the dump, get it out of here. It's it's I had no time for that stuff. So we ended up not doing that, but it did really help for our customer retention and being the obvious choice. And as a result, a lot of phone calls that we got, surprisingly, some of the phone calls that we got, they would say things like, "Hey, I pass by you all the time. We're moving next week. I want to see what your rates are." You know, so that was a good bonus, for sure.
that's amazing. And definitely something I want to highlight to the audience is don't undervalue having a storefront. I think the big thing you mentioned there that stands out for me is how much of a trust score it is. When you're speaking with someone on the phone, they haven't seen you face to face. They don't know who you are. They may have seen one of your ads. They may have been referred. But when they know there's an in-store location, maybe it's 10 minutes from them, maybe it's 30 minutes from them, they can come and see you in person. They can shake your hand. It makes
Oh yeah.
such a different process to just picking up the phone or texting with someone. I can really see that making a difference. That's really, really cool. I appreciate those insights in regards to that. One other thing I wanted to touch upon was with your team guys, you pay them a flat rate per day, but I imagine you also have bonuses, incentives, lots of things to keep them around a little bit more. I'd love
Yeah.
to hear a little bit more.
Yeah, so our guys they participate in we call a gross bonus for them. So basically, they participate in the total dollar amount of what the company makes for that week. Their bonuses start at $10,000. So the company makes $10,000. Everybody gets $100 bonus, and for every $5,000 from there, they get an additional $100 bonus. So our teams are well, our team is very, very motivated to try to get as many jobs done during the week as possible. They want to work together to try to get as many big jobs as done as possible. So they it helps when you could take somebody that's only worked, let's say, 4 days that week, but yet we had a really good week as a company, and now they still make a good paycheck to be able to provide for their families. So they're still committed. They're still in it. The biggest thing for me when I came up with this pay plan was I was trying to figure out one of my biggest problems I had was with payroll when I started. Like a lot of guys out there, I wanted to have 10, 15 guys and have them all busy and going and the whole 9 yards, which is great in a perfect world, but unfortunately we don't live in that. Your really, really strong weeks gross wise, your payroll is really high. If everybody's
Mm,
making $21 an hour, $20 an hour, 22 an hour, your payroll jumps extremely high. I can remember when we'd have a $20,000 week, but then we're spending 14,000 in payroll. And I'm
yeah.
like, I'm like, shoot myself in the foot here. What do I do? And so I had to come up with something that would automatically control if I had a good week or if I had a bad week. So let's take, for
Mm,
example, I have a bad week. My payroll is only going to be like around probably like $3,000 if I have a bad week. If I have a good week and because it's still controlled, now my payroll is only going to be like $5,000. So before I would have a good week and I'd be almost down here spending all of it just to get the jobs done. So now allows us to one, it allows us to, you track, well, I track here. I could pop up some stuff here. I track everything. I track what each mover makes me, what my dollars make. I do all of it.
I love
So
the numbers. I'm the same. I'm a nerd just like you because if you don't know your numbers, you don't know where all your money's going. So it's so important. I love to hear that. I'd love to hear some of your numbers. It sounds like you got some exciting ones to share with us.
yeah,
And while you're searching for those, I think it's a great thing for the audience to know is when you align your interests and your employees' interests, everyone benefits. Because, like you said, if you have a slow week, they're also going to have a slow week. So they're invested in the company's success, which is sometimes a really difficult thing to do. And it's the age old saying, when I eat, everyone else eats, that sort of thing. So I really
right,
like that you've done a good job of aligning that with your guys. You also have that transparency so they feel like they're part of something rather than just being like, okay, you're piecemeal, we pay you an hourly rate, you don't get to see any of the numbers. They know and they're excited. Oh, we're at a $14,000 week. We got to
right.
push Sunday to get an extra $1,000 so that we can get another $100 in bonus. So that's really, really cool.
Yeah, no, it's worked out great for them. They really appreciate it, like you're saying. They truly do, And I have one of my guys. He was just telling me the other day. He goes, "Hey man, I'm so excited. I got $10,000 saved up," and I'm like, "That's awesome." I mean, you don't hear that from movers, right? You hear like, "Hey man, were you drinking before you got to work?" That's usually what you hear. Don't be doing that. So it really does help. Just to kind of give you some of our numbers here. It looks like we're updated here. So on 5 movers, the revenue per mover that each mover has made for us is $2,052.80 per mover. The
Amazing.
payroll versus gross is at 38%. So 38.53 to be exact. We're running a little low right now on our jobs. Our job average this week, we got a lot, and we just took on another account that we just did. It's for a furniture company, so they're kind of affecting our numbers. But we're right at about $800 per move right now, and then let me see here. Our lead conversion rate, went down. We're at 103.85, and then jobs.
You're in your sales process if you're only at 1 and 3.
Yeah,
Sorry, carry
yes.
on. I want to hear the rest of the numbers.
Jobs this week, 27, and then revenue revenue versus payroll efficiency. So for every dollar that I spend, I make $2.59. And those are
Amazing.
like that KPI. That's my my number. I think we spent this week in payroll 39.55.
Amazing. And so that's your KPI dashboard, I imagine, right? And you're looking at that, I imagine in Smart Moving, you've customized that, and those are the numbers which you're looking at every week, if I understand.
Actually, I found it a little frustrating with Smart Moving in order to do that. I did it myself. I have my own. Yeah, I just have my own spreadsheet that I made Excel spreadsheet. I had to because nobody would give me what I wanted, so I had to do it myself.
Yeah, don't underestimate the power of a spreadsheet. Although it feels like you're taking a step backwards, it's much more customizable. And as long as you have the information which is important to you, some people might look at those KPIs. Those aren't the ones I want to see. But all that matters is those are the KPIs you're looking at that are ones most important for you. And I want to tell everyone in the audience this because this is super crucial. I'm just going to keep hounding this home. Knowing your numbers is what makes or breaks a business. And I'm sure it's why you're so successful, is because you care about your numbers and you know if anything goes wrong. Just now, while you were looking at your numbers, you said, yeah, our average order size or your average move size is around $800, but you knew straight away why that was because you've taken on a new client who has slightly smaller volume, price
Smaller
size,
job.
but more.
Yeah,
Exactly. And
yeah.
and I love it when an owner understands their numbers. So big kudos to you for really understanding those through and through. That's awesome.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah.
And when we spoke last, you shared one KPI with me, which blew my mind. I've actually never heard of such a high rate, but you said you have, of all of your clients, 16% of them are repeat customers. I'd love for you to share a little more about how you got there, what that looks like.
So from start to end is really how we really get our clients to come back to us. One, we understand that our clients are our majority are going to be elderly clients, and knowing your customer base and knowing what they want and what they need is very important. So from the very beginning, when they come in and we're doing all the numbers up front, when they go through the actual move with us, nothing has changed. If they do add something in, which a lot of people do, right? We want to build that relationship. And I tell everybody, look, at the end of the day, if you use our company, great. If you don't, no big deal. But at the end of the day, if you do use our company, the one thing that I want to establish with you is a long term relationship, not making all the money on you right now. That does me no good. And I tell my clients, everybody always comes back to me and does business with me again because they know they could trust me. They know they could call me and they know if we say it's going to be a certain way, then that's what it's going to be. And there's no surprises. So from the beginning, when we're setting up the move and the guys are going through their first move with the clients, that's really a big part of it. Right. Then at the end, we will give them coupons. They will receive email blasts from us, stuff like that from our system. Basically, just reiterating. Well, there's one thing that we really do. We do on Wednesdays, we offer like $99 deliveries for our past clients. So if they want to jump in on a day, because typically Wednesdays we can be a little slower during the middle of the week. So in order to combat that, we created this little event where they could sign up. We go move one piece for $99. Now, if we could get to them that week, great. If we can't, then they could move to the next week. It just depends on our availability. Making those easy transitions for the customer, like, hey, so not only do you do moving, but I could call you when I need to buy something off Facebook Marketplace. Well, yeah, of course. We're here for you. If you guys need help doing anything at all, just call us. As long as it involves moving. I tell them, I'm like, the only thing we won't do is cut your grass. We're not going to do that. I'm sorry. But that's it. So a lot of our clients being elderly, establishing that trust with them in the beginning and knowing they have someone that they could call and rely on, that's where it comes from. I mean, it's no secret. It's just taking care of the customer, at the end of the day, really.
Yeah. There's a reason that the age-old saying is the customer's always right, and it seems like you embody that. And there's so much stuff I want to touch on because there's things I've actually never even considered, which are great. But I think what it really comes down to is the customer trusts you. They know you, I imagine personally. I imagine you deal with every customer personally, unless you're away on vacation or something.
Yeah, a vacation, yeah, that'd be nice. But yeah, no, I do. I do pretty much touch base with every customer, especially if it's a referral from one of the customers. I make it a point to be there. I make it a point to set up their move, be directly involved in it. It makes them feel just much better. I mean, we already know they're going to close. We know that doesn't necessarily have to happen, but for the client that recommended them, that move has to go good. For that recommendation that guy gave us, that move has to, no matter what, even if I got to cut something or do whatever on my end, it's going to go smooth no matter what.
Wow.
So,
And that really shows how much you care about the customer because at that point, when someone else is referring you, that's their credibility which is at risk, right?
mhm.
And
Oh, yeah.
it really long way that you care enough. There's a lot of moving companies out there who don't even put together connect the dots, so to say, that
Right.
they are putting credibility on the line for you. So you're willing to go the extra mile for that customer because they've come from a referral. So that's it speaks volumes to the way that you do your business. And there are a couple other things I found really fascinating. You said you do coupons, email blasts, $99 deliveries. First, I want to start with email blasts because I think so many people miss out on this. I'm guessing when you originally get in touch with a client, you capture all of their information. One of those things is their email address. Have I got that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Correct.
And with those email blasts, what's your cadence of them? Because I know some moving companies, for example, will ask the client, how long's your lease or something along those lines, and they'll send them something 11 months down the line so that you're top of mind. What does your email blast cadence look like?
So we focus, we don't want to bug the customer because we know that at the end of the day, they're most likely not going to be in the market to move something when we do send the email blast out. We want it to be informational. We want it to ask for referrals. And those are like kind of normal one that we send out every month. We also do focus on holidays just to touch base. It's an excuse to touch base and say hi again, and it's not asking for, we don't ask for anything when we do it. We're just saying hi. We're just keeping the presence in front of them. That's it. That's all it's for. And what we do focus on in our CRM system, I was doing it manually, and it sucked. I mean, I would have to go into Mailchimp, download, look for, run a report, get all these customers in a certain category, upload it, and then do my email blast. And it really was a nightmare doing it. So we weren't as consistent as we'd want to be. Now, actually, we will be because Smart Moving just came out with a new feature. I don't know if you're aware of it with their email blasts that they're able to do now internally. So now internally, we're going to be actual targeting. Now we're going to be asking for business 6 to 9 months period. So anniversaries for 6 to 9 months and then a year anniversary. But we're going to mainly focus on everybody that we're tagging as an apartment move because in the
Gotcha.
system, we could tag it under apartment move or house move. Right. So I think that if anybody were going to want to do an email blast, you really have to think about what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish because you can send an email blast out to everybody. Hey, you moving again? Well, what if you just send one to Jimmy that you just moved last week? He ain't moving again. You're just bugging Jimmy now, So you gotta make sure that you think your way through it and really have an end goal of what you're trying to accomplish, not just send them out. It doesn't work when you do that. You just piss people off. You know.
For sure. And I think that speaks to the way you do business. You even mentioned it earlier is you want to build that trust with your clients and everything. You're not looking to sell them. That's not the approach here. Now, of course, at the back of your mind, this is going to help with the sale later on, but you're continually building that rapport. You're giving them free value, whatever it is. Merry Christmas from Pro Movies of Cape Coral, whatever it might be. You just give little touch points so that they remember you when it comes around next time. And by the sounds of it, MailChimp and your moving software are going to make it much easier for you to also tag specific apartment moves, which I love, by the way, because like you said, apartment movers, they move much more frequently than if you move into a
Right.
house. That's
Right.
why you're only targeting them versus house movers. Really, really smart. I love that. And I look forward to hearing about how that goes. I wasn't familiar with that new feature, but I'm sure that's going to
Yeah,
be
I
helpful.
wasn't either. The guy, when he called me and we started going over it, I go, "Can I just sign up right now?" I'm like, if I could manipulate my list that easily, I said, just take my money. I want to give it to you right now. So
And that's when you know it's a good feature. When you're instantly just willing to throw money at the wall, it means they've got something which you guys
yeah.
need. That's with the email blasts. You also mentioned you did coupons. What kind of coupons are you guys doing?
So we do referral coupons. So refer a customer, they get $100 off. We do coupons where the customer themselves could get $100 off their next move with us. They automatically get that once the move is done, so they're aware that when their next move comes up, they could contact us. And we give them $100 off. Or a lot of our customers, we tell them that because we've already moved you once and the move went great, right, Mr. Customer? Yes. You're happy. Yes. You love the crew. Yes. Great. Well, we can lock this rate in for you on your next move. So when you're ready to move again, all you got to do is just call us and it's the same deal. Very easy. Unless you change, something, right? You're moving out of state. You're doing something completely different. Then yes, it's a different price. But other than that, if it's just a regular local move, same. And usually it's the same guys moving them. So we keep it easy. The easier you can make it for somebody to do business with you, why wouldn't they do business with you?
You said that earlier on when we were talking about your sales process and you talked about just simplicity. A lot of moving companies overcomplicate it. You're going to have a cost for the truck. You're going to have a cost for the hourly. You're going to have a cost for supplies, stairs. this, that, and the other. But when you make it simple for the client, it's very easy for them to digest. They're more willing to pay for it. And you guys have done that not just at the initial sale, but also afterwards. I love that idea of matching the quote because you already know how that move went. Your crew will tell you as well. If you've got the same crew, send them back out. Most companies only see this at the very beginning of their journey when they're the ones fulfilling the moves. But clients love to see the same faces. It makes them feel safe. It makes them feel seen,
Mhm.
trusted, all of. If you have the same employees for 2+ years and you're giving them the same clients, if you can find some way to match that, that's really amazing.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure that goes such a lot of clients.
it does. And I mean, and that all rolls back into why people are repeat and referral customers. We, as an owner, you work so hard to try to get the initial call and just to have the customer do business with you. Why wouldn't you spend the extra effort in making sure that you make it a lifetime customer versus just a wham bam thank you ma'am type of deal, you know? And that's, I mean, that's at least I've always seen it that way coming from the car business, and that is the mentality. Get them while they're here, and then get them out, and that's it, right? And this is completely different. For me, I'm relieved to be able to do that versus selling, you know, in dealerships and stuff like that. It's something that I want to personally do, so it's easy for us to do. Not
That's
everybody's like
great.
that.
I'm sure that we've heard a lot of horror stories from moving companies, and it goes a long way. Just that long-term thinking versus short-term thinking. You're going to benefit from it because your customers are going to come back to you, and they're going to benefit from it because you actually care about them. You make it easier for them. So it's just a win-win, which is the way that all business should be done. Really, really love to hear that. And then the last thing I wanted to touch upon before I let you go, because I've been holding you up for a long time already. By the way, thank you for all
Right.
the insights. I'm sure
No
the
worries.
audience is this. This is a load of great stuff. You do $99 deliveries, and that's for someone who has already moved in the past. It's a great way to keep you guys in the loop. I just want to urge everyone listening to this to really consider that, especially like you said, Wednesday is your slow day. Put it in the middle of your week. Do it when you're slowest. Get your teams out going. You know how easy it is for them to do it. But more than anything, it just keeps you top of mind. When they need a move, I couldn't see them going with anyone else. This is a which I'm sure you can't find because you can't track it, but I'm curious how many customers you've lost, and I imagine the percentage is like incredibly
Well,
low.
I will tell you in our database, we have about close to 4,000 people that we've done business with already.
Amazing.
Um, you know, I have my same phone number forever. I actually just got a new phone because I don't want to change my old phone. So I literally got a whole new phone. They got to be able to call me.
Yeah.
So no, I mean you know, taking care of the customers and really getting everything dialed in for them has been, you know, really nice journey, I guess you'd say, you know, for us and dealing with them and just helping the families out there. A lot of our families here in Southwest Florida, we're all pretty close because we all go through hurricanes together. So,
Hmm.
you know, when we all lose our stuff, we all lose our stuff. Nobody is immune to it, you know. So it's different out here, you know, for sure, you know, with our clientele, but it's a good thing for sure.
And I'm sure you guys are starting to feel like a pillar in the community. It's only been 6 years now. I want to talk about where you're going to go moving forwards. I can't even imagine what it'll be like 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line. But you're probably a pillar. Lots of people know you as, okay, I'm Fernando, I'm a pro moves of Cape Coral, and they know you as someone who they can trust, who they can work around, and who's reliable. How does that feel being a pillar in your community?
It feels good. I mean, you know, it's one of the things that we were really striving for, you know, making yourself the obvious choice. You know, I will say that our competition makes it easy for us to do that because they don't really think the way we do and we're able to capitalize on it. And a lot of people in the moving industries are coming in, you know, trying to make money. They're trying to make money, but you know, I was taught by I helped a gentleman open up a restaurant in Texas one year back when I was younger, and he told me, he said, you know, if you take care of your customers, the customers take care of you. And it really works. It's not a fabrication. It's not just a saying or anything like that. It's something that really does work. And the greed, I guess, gets in people's way to be able to see that, you know. But for us, it's worked out great. We love our clients. They love us. They know they could call us night or day. We answer any day of the week. They could call me and my wife directly. You know, we're a family business, you know, so they like that as well. They like to support us. So, you know, our kids work with us or work for us. and all that stuff as well. So it's good. It's good, and we're looking forward to the future and what it all brings.
It's exciting stuff, and it's something I think we're losing today more than ever. Is a lot of businesses are transactional. They very much feel like that. Like you said, they're almost a money grab, and it's just what can I provide you? What can I get from you? When you take it to that next level and you build those personal relationships, you have all of that. It's not transactional. You actually care about the customer. It just comes full circle. They care about you as well. People want to feel heard, understood, known, whatever it might be. And that's something that you're providing to them by not being so transactional. So kudos to you for doing all of that. And I understand you work with Liz as well, your wife, and I'm super happy to hear that all the kids are involved in the business as well. How many kids do you have?
So we have 3 kids. We have 2 grandkids already. And yeah, so my oldest daughter and my son, my middle son, he works with us. So they're 20 and 21 years old. And my son goes out on moves and takes care of customers. And we're teaching them, and I'm teaching them the way that we want the business ran, and we're hoping one day that they could do it on their own and still continue with the same thing. We always hear of all the kids that ruin the business after they get it. I'm like, you guys ain't doing that. I worked too damn hard. You're gonna do it the right way. That's it.
But that's the dream at the end of the day. If you can have a generational business where you do get to pass it to your next of kin, there's something just so special about that. The business doesn't die with you, it stays within the family line. And it seems like you're taking all of the right steps to have that happening. And you're having your son, by the sounds of it, and your daughter as well, earn their stripes. It's not like they come in and they're a team lead straight away. They've got to learn from the people who have been doing it longer than them. They work through the business. They know what's down the road for them in 10, 15 years, but that's really awesome. And to finish off, I'd love to know a little bit more about where you guys, best case scenario, where would you like to be at in 5 years' time? What would the business look like? Do you guys want to branch? Do you just want to have a really dominant
Yeah,
thing?
5 years from now, I would want to see us on more of a kind of like a wheel. If you could imagine a wheel just rolling down the street, just working, just going. No one need to push it, nothing. It's just moving, right? And that's really why we focus on our customer relationship with our clientele, with our actual moves. And what we do works, and it works out well for us. But what I'm really pushing for is our accounts. Now, with our accounts, that is really key because I've been able to stay stable for guys, for workers, right? And the stability to be able to give somebody a paycheck and not a hit or miss type of paycheck is really key, and that's like the fundamental part, right? That's the base of the house. That's the concrete, right? Are the guys, you know. In 5 years, I would want to see it working more on a just an automatic, by itself type of deal. We're actually starting another business ourselves too. That's why we moved to the island. So we're moving on to our second business here. I don't know what I do to myself, but we're doing it.
Congratulations. I can
Thank
tell
you.
you're a workhorse who loves putting himself into the work. What business are you guys starting now?
We're going to get into a fun business. So I always tell everybody that, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" But we got a. You can't tell here, but we're actually sitting in a 100-year-old boathouse, which was one of the first original boathouses here in Matlacha, Florida.
Or
And next to us is another building, much bigger than this one, and it's on stilts and it's right on the water. We have a beach area, everything like that. So we're going to be doing. This is a fishing town, so I like to pay attention to my clients, right? With being a fishing town, and we get a ton tourists here just for fishing. They all go stand on the bridge. So we're going to have professional, uh, fully set up kayaks, fishing kayaks, ready to go that they can rent. We're going to do something unique. We're going to be doing, as long as I can get the permits. I still got to get my permits for this. But if I can get it, yes. So, but we're going to be doing floating, um, floating like docks, but we're going to make it like, what is it called? Where you go rent, what is it called, Liz? Where you rent, like if you go to Vegas and you rent like the little booth by the pool type of deal,
yeah,
cabana.
beautiful, yeah.
We're gonna make them into floating cabanas.
Oh,
So
that's
you'll
gonna
be,
be awesome.
yeah. I'm looking forward to having something that can make revenue, and then I don't have to pay it at the end of the day. So that's going to be nice once we once we get to that point with those.
Well, I've got two requests from you then. First and foremost, I want to see some pictures of this. If you can send me, it sounds like you have a beautiful beachfront property. As you guys are building this out, I'd love to hear more about it. But also, as the viewers know, my brother and I, we live in Miami, Florida. We're not avid fishermen. You like fishing. When we come and visit, I know
Oh,
where we're going
perfect.
already. I'm
Yes,
super
yes, I'll
excited.
have you guys over. Yes, absolutely.
That sounds like it's going to be great. But Fernando, again, I want to thank you for all the time you put in today. There's going to be so many takeaways for everyone. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart. Where can people find you online, social media, all of that fun stuff?
Yeah, so we're at promovers of capecoral.com or promovers of Southwest Florida .com. And then we do have our Facebook page. I do not know the name of it for you to find it. That's the only thing. I know it's like Pro One or something. Pro Move.
I have both of those linked up. If anyone wants to go ahead and find Fernando and his family at Pro Moves of Cape Coral, I'll go ahead and link you to Instagram and the Facebook as well. If anyone is in the Cape Coral area or Fort Myers, be sure to let Fernando know. Go check him out. Do your moves with him. I can already tell just from the hour we've spoken with him that you're going to have a great experience. And Fernando, thank you again for all of your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Of course.
All right. Thank you.